everybody, and welcome to the that's still wrong. Knit and Paws podcast. My name is Raylene, aka Kamana Knits on Ravelry. You can find show notes for this episode and all other episodes at knitandpawspodcast.com. That's KNITNPAWS podcast.com. This is episode 33, and it has a name. Its name is Need a Little Room to Breathe. I first wanted to thank everybody for any messages or posts on the Ravelry boards. It's been rough, but it's getting better. I can't wait to move. Let's just get that out of the way. Can't wait to move. Boxes from U-Haul are arriving tomorrow. Not that I can move for another 2 months, but as soon as I know I need to move, I want to start packing, because all of my books, and I can start packing a lot of shit. So I may as well do that now, so that I'm not freaking out about it in May, because that could happen. Sorry, I just finished eating. I feel like my mouth is dirty. It might be a shorter episode again today. This is the second time I've recorded. It is Monday afternoon, about 2:36. I'm now on Mountain Standard, because everybody else sprang ahead and we stayed put. So I'm now same with Alberta time until fall. And then everybody falls back, and then I'm on Central Time. It's very confusing and complicated for me, because my new raid group is all on Eastern, my WoW server is on Eastern, and I have to keep track of a different, instead of being 1 hour behind, I'm now 2 hours behind. So while for them it all starts at the same time, for me it all starts an hour earlier now. So it's always something to keep in mind, I guess, when you're dealing with people from other time zones that use daylight savings, because I live in a weird province. Anyway. Sorry if you can hear a lot of street noise. It's +8 today. That's Celsius. So 40, 45 Fahrenheit-ish. It's 8 degrees above freezing Celsius. It's really warm up. It's been, it started on Friday. All last week it was still -20. And then Friday, when I got to work, it was -5. When I left work, it was +1. And then it's been in the pluses all weekend, and then today it's +8 currently. Or at least that's what it was when I checked my phone about half an hour ago. So, everything's melting. It's really nice. I figured I'd get some fresh air into here, because the windows have been closed since probably November. And I'm tired of it. So, I need to air the place out a little. Let's get into knitting. I have no finished objects. I'm not really knitting a whole lot. I'm trying. I'm trying to make more time for knitting, but I'm getting into a busy season with school, so we'll see how it goes. I do have a hoe. This is a project you have not seen before, so I've done quite a bit of work on it. I am knitting the Charlotte Street Mitts by Glenna C. They're out of her Urban Designs Collection Volume 2 or something. There's a matching cowl for them. The pattern yarn is Tanis Fiber Arts Purple Label Cashmere Fingering Socky Sock. I am knitting these out of Tanis Fiber Arts Blue Label Fingering in the Stormy colorway, because I have a million skeins of this. This is the first mitten. I need to do the thumb, obviously, so it's not a complete half-finished object, but you are supposed to do more ribbing. It calls for actually 4 inches of ribbing after you finish, and so that you can fold it over and have a super wide folded over cuff. But I got tired of doing 1x1 ribbing, so I quit after 2 inches. And I like this length. It's still up on my little finger, but it's not up too far. I'll still be able to type. I'm kind of making them for work. Work's been cold this winter, but now that it's +8 outside, I don't know how cold it'll remain. The second mitten I have started, and I just started the gusset for the thumb over here. So those will be done probably next time. I originally bought 4 skeins of this Stormy. I bought like a sweater quantity of it. And I started knitting, I believe it was Breakwater by Cicely Glowick MacDonald, and I hadn't knit a sweater at that point, and I was having major gauge issues, i.e. my unblocked gauge versus blocked gauge, because it's knitted a fairly loose gauge. I think it's at 22 or 23 stitches per 4 inches in fingering weight, which is a fairly loose gauge considering I usually knit the fingering weight on like size 0s. Oh, I'm doing these on, the pattern calls for 7.5 stitches per inch on 2.5, US 2.5. I don't know what the millimeter number is for that, I'm sorry. But I get about 8.5 or 8.5 about stitches per inch on a 0. So I went down to a US size 1.5, that's a 2.5 millimeter, and I am knitting the large pattern because I do like some negative ease. The small probably would have been a little bit too tight, but these feel nice and snug. And they're not too long, like they come down a little ways down my out. This is with the 3 repeats of the chart, or of the lace pattern called for in the pattern. And I like that length. You could, of course, shorten it and only do 2 or 1. 1 would put you like about here, 2 a little bit further down. But so anyway, I bought 4 skeins of this, started knitting it. Really freaked out about gauge, didn't know what to do, so I ended up ripping it out. And then I started knitting socks with it. And so far, with those 4 skeins, I have knit 3 pairs of socks. 1 for me, 1 for my mom, and 1 for Raveler from the Nerd Wars team from the old Nerd Wars. I said it already. And I have this much left of 1 skein. I mean, it's pretty smushy in the middle. And I still have another full skein that hasn't been balled up at all. So I could probably make another 2 pairs of socks out of it. And I can really tell, the pair of socks that I have for myself, I can really tell that they were from 2 different skeins because one has faded a whole lot more than the other. And I bought them all at the same time from the same store. So I assume it was just one's faded more than the other. But they've definitely both faded from what this looks like here. I'd forgotten how kind of dark it was. Which isn't bad. I mean, I bought it seeing it was a dark greeny, grayy, bluey, weirdy color. I like it though. And Tennis Fiber Arts is like one of my favorite fingering weight sock yarns. So, I love it. And I would like to buy more, but right now, we're not. So the second thing I have on my needles that I've actively been working on in the last 2 weeks are my vanilla socks out of Twisted Limon Tangy Sock in Juiced. I started doing a Fish Lips Kiss heel about here. And it used up all of this green stripe and only about half of this neon red stripe. So then I was going to have a really thin stripe of red before it went back into the yellow, and I did not like it. So I ripped it out. And I was at class, so I did not have waste yarn along with me. So, or scissors or anything. I was in the middle of class. So I just kept going. It's going to be a true afterthought heel, I suppose. Which I have never done before. But hopefully that will work out okay. This is again. So we'll see how that goes. I've never done a true afterthought. I've only done one afterthought heel sock in general. And I didn't knit the foot long enough so they don't quite sit properly. But my mom got her Christmas socks. I sent them both. I sent the second one back to her. I finished the toe again. And she really likes the Fish Lips Kiss heel. Like, really. Sorry. She really likes the Fish Lips Kiss heel. She says when you put your heel into that sock, your heel is really in that sock. There's nowhere for it to go but right in that spot. So that's cool. I can keep knitting her. I really like the Fish Lips Kiss heel. But we'll try another afterthought heel, maybe make it a little bit deeper on this one. That's still the first sock. I've kind of been trying to finish these mitts because my hands were cold at work. And the fingerless mitts I was using weren't long enough over my fingers, so it was keeping like my hand warm but not my fingers warm. That's the important part. I type with those. So, that's all the knitting I've done. I have not touched my banana leaf shawl by Yuki Udea in quite a while. It feels like it's never going to be done, so I haven't been working on it. Even though when I actually do work on it, it feels like I get a lot of progress done, but, you know. My palm to pin cardigan, I am almost done the body. I've done the shoulder shaping for the right front, and I'm just doing the little bit of the collar that I have to knit flat, and then I'll seam it. So I'll show it probably next time, hopefully with the body done and seamed together and maybe a sleeve started. So that's going well. I have not started anything else. I don't even have the urge to cast anything else on right now. I have enough to work on. I have a lot of papers and shit. It's a busy, busy time. Next, I'm going to talk about sadness. Knitting sadness, not anything else. So I have here, when my mom went down to, I want to say Tennessee, 2 or 3 years ago. They went to the Blue Smoky Mountains or whatever. They motorcycle. So they went down there, and my mom brought back 3 skeins of Barocco sock in 3 different colorways. And the plan was knit myself a pair with one of them, knit her a pair with another, and the third one was to knit a pair for my sister-in-law. Which I did within the first year of getting them. They were all knit and gone, and well, except the pair for me, which I still have here. This is the colorway that was for me. I haven't washed them since I last worn them, so they look a bit stretched out and huge. Now my problem, like it's a superwash wool nylon. It's definitely not merino. It reminds me of Patton's Croy. I assume it is similar in texture to Opal and Regia, but I haven't knit with those, so I don't know. So I figured they would last like forever, right? I have a hole in the bottom of my foot. I have no idea how I got there. The yarn around it isn't super worn out and thin. I assume I perhaps caught it on something or stepped on something sharp that sliced a thread. And I am not sure at this point if I care enough to darn it. I darned my Madeline, one of my Madeline Tosh 80-10-10, but there wasn't actually a hole. It was just really, I showed those a couple weeks ago, or a couple episodes ago. It was just really thin, but there's still all the threads, right? Here it's an actual hole. Not a very big one, but it's still a hole. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to darn it or just throw them out. We'll see. It's kind of sad. I expected them to last a lot longer. I don't have a whole lot of socks knit out of the more workhorsey yarns because I kind of am a yarn snob. My name is Raylene and I am a yarn snob. I like, merino's fine and I think it's soft. I actually prefer BFL. I don't have any socks out of BFL though. I have a pair of socks out of Corriedale now, and they seem to be wearing fine, but they're still pretty new, right? My Spunky Eclectic tartan socks. So yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet. We'll see. I was also thinking today, I have a featherweight cardigan that I knit out of Tosh Merino Light, and I striped it. It's an Antler and Isadora. It's got wide stripes, like 20 row stripes. I never wear that sweater. It doesn't sit nicely on my shoulders. It always wants to fall off. So I was thinking today that maybe I should rip it back because the yarn's beautiful and it's held up fine. No pilling, nothing, because I never wear it, right? So I've been thinking maybe I should rip it back, and I still have 2 untouched skeins of Antler and like 1 of Isadora that I could make something, like an actual pullover with or something, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if I'm really that invested in ripping it back or if I'm just gonna leave it and, you know, wear it the couple times that I do and use it as a learning experience. The more I talk about it, the more I'm like, if I rip it back, then I'm adding that yarn back into my stash, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Recent purchases. I always forget with the Interworld Yarn Club, Sock Yarn Club, that when you always pay a month in advance. Because what happens is they take the money on the 19th, and then they ship it on like the 19th or 20th, and I get it within a week, and I'm in Canada. So I get it like the 24th. So it feels like I paid on the 19th, and then I get the yarn on the 24th, right? But really, you're paying on the 19th, and then you're getting it the next month. And the yarn that you get on the 24th, you paid for last month. So I was still owed the Into the World February Yarn Club, since I quit the Yarn Club, which I'm kind of sad about and probably could have kept, but whatever. I'll rejoin later. I do like the yarn, but I think I have enough fingering right now. I could be knitting socks for forever, and I probably will be. I really like knitting socks. This is funky. Okay. Anyway, if you haven't seen this, which I assume everybody has, considering it's the 9th of March, this colorway is called Second Spring. Starts off with this really rusty kind of red and goes into orange and some lighter green and then a dark, that's not really blue. It's like it's a greeny teal. It's really not blue at all. Oh, that's terrible. That's still terrible. It's not. It is, but it isn't really blue. It's definitely a blue or green, but it's on the green side, not the blue side. It doesn't look like blue. Anyway. So it's really pretty. It is in their Bordeaux sock, which is a 2-ply 80/20 superwash BFL nylon, which I really enjoy. So we will see. My skein seems to be kind of funky. It'll probably be socks. Everything is socks. It's all socks all the time. Every skein of sock yarn I get, I'm like, nylon, socks. Not nylon, not socks. That may be a problem. Because I do have some 2-ply 100% superwash merino that I don't know what to do with. And I don't really like 2-plies, but the Meridian socks that I knit from Into the World, which was a 2-ply, it was an 80-10-10 merino cashmere nylon. That was a 2-ply. And in stockinette stitch, it works up perfectly fine. And I like it. So, we'll see. Foster tails. Still no foster dogs. Probably not gonna until after I move, if I find a place that allows dogs. But there is an event this coming weekend. It is Music for Mutts 5, March 14th from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Saskatoon Academy of Music. Tickets are $20 a pop, I believe. And as of March 3rd, which was 6 days ago, they were half sold out. They were sold out last year. They didn't have any tickets left at the door. So if you are in the area and would like to go, I would pick up tickets now. New Hope does have a lot of dogs right now up. There was recently an emergency foster situation with a whole bunch of dogs. What happens is Saskatoon has a really high Indigenous peoples population. There's a lot of reserves all around. Every little town, pretty much, in Saskatchewan has a reserve close to it or is on the reserve. And there's a really large stray dog population on these reserves. Like, Odin came from a reserve. Phoenix, aka Fifi, came from a reserve. Pretty much every puppy that New Hope gets is from a reserve. They're usually Shepherd Husky mixes. Sometimes there's Mastiff in there, or Rottweiler, or it could be anything. Absolutely anything. Because there's not a lot of vet clinics outside of major towns, for starters. So a lot of people on these reserves can't afford to get their dogs spayed or neutered, which leads to overpopulation issues, which leads to packs of stray dogs running around. So there was a reserve in northern Saskatchewan recently that put into effect a very high bounty on, I believe it was a bounty on shooting stray dogs. So if you shot a stray dog and brought it in, you got money for it. So there was a rescue in northern Alberta and a bunch of rescues here in Saskatoon that were desperately trying to pull as many dogs out of there as they could. There is another rescue. Well, they're not really a rescue. They're a nonprofit. They're called Canine Action Plan, and they organize and offer spay and neuter clinics in various reserves. And the spay and neuter is at a very reduced cost or free for residents. And they also go around, like they've been providing dog houses, like well-built dog houses for outdoor dogs. They go around to different communities to check out the health of the animals, to help educate owners, to help owners. They take dogs out of there where the owners, once again, can't afford medical bills for whatever reason. And they provide very good service for the community, and New Hope partners with them, and we are involved in their spay and neuter clinics, in which we do end up taking in a lot of dogs that then get spayed or neutered and then brought into foster homes with New Hope. So they were desperately looking for temporary or long-term or permanent, like, foster homes they were trying to get as many dogs out of there as possible. I think they ended up getting like 35 or 40 dogs out of there altogether, into foster homes. So that's really good. Some of them were young, some of them were not, some health issues, whatever. It's definitely a high-risk area. Most dogs who come in from reserves are on 7 to 10 day isolation, just to make sure. Because they're running wild, like fleas, lice, excuse me. They could have been exposed to parvo. They could have been exposed to distemper. It's kind of a crapshoot. But they're always such nice dogs. And they're so friendly with people. Like, that's what always gets me about these reserve dogs. They're so friendly with people and kids, and they love everybody, and they were, from not a great place necessarily. So that's been going on, and they're starting up their clinics again now in spring. So we'll see. I unfortunately could not take any because I do not want to bring a dog here. So New Hope's website, of course, as always, is newhoperescue.org. Canine Action Plan's website is canineactionproject.com. Their website is not terribly up to date. They do also have a Facebook page, and that is updated regularly. So they're a really great organization, and they do a lot of good, I think, for various communities in Saskatchewan. I can barely say that. So I don't have any yarn coming, thank God. I don't need any more. I need to knit what I have. But I won't lie, Loopy You always does a Monday update, and it's often Woolmiza, whatever. If they have a lace garn update, I might just indulge, maybe. Or Twin. I like Twin too. Although I have a bunch of Woolmies and I haven't used any of it. So maybe that's a problem too. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about gaming. I'm back into World of Warcraft with a vengeance, which is not always a good thing. So if you're not interested in that, thank you very much again for watching. Thank you again to everybody for your support and comments and well wishes. And I know I don't reply a lot on Ravelry, but I intend to. And then when I check it, I'm out of the house or away or in class, and then later on I just forget. Because if I don't do something when I first think about it, doesn't always get done. So, yeah, bye. If you do want to hear about me talking about gaming, then stay around and we'll start that right now. Might as well, right? So I'm playing World of Warcraft. I'm staying on the same server. Battle tag is in the show notes if you would like to add me. I had found a guild They were, we did heroic Heimel for shits and giggles on alts, is how progressed they were. That we did an alt run of heroic Heimel, and we're 5 out of 10 or whatever in heroic BRF, and 9 out of 11 in normal or something. Like, normal BRF was almost cleared, and we were doing really good progression in Heimel, and I wasn't feeling it. Just wasn't feeling it. They geared me like crazy. Like, I was 640 when I joined, and I was like 665 when I left about 2 weeks later. So the gear was definitely there, and if I just cared about gear and content and going into Mythic, which is what they were aiming for, I would have stayed. I really would have. They were a pretty good group, nice people, you know, helpful, friendly, but I just didn't feel a connection. They had been raiding together for the core group of probably about 10. Well, like, we consistently had 20 people in every raid. And Mythic is 20 people capped, but normal and heroic, you can go up to 25 or 30 or something. So for the core, like the officer core kind of, was about 10 or so, maybe 15, between 10 and 15. And they had been raiding together for a really long time. And you could tell, because they were all super friendly and chatty, and those who weren't in that core, we're just quiet and came and did our jobs and left. I don't want to just be a person who comes and does their job and leaves. You know, I want to do stuff with my guild outside of raiding. I really miss my raid group from Mists, but everybody's gone, quit, different server, different guild, different times. You know, we'll never get that raid group back together, which is fine. I mean, stuff changes. Whatever. So then I had been in that guild for about a week, and this guy from a different guild asked if I was still looking, and I said, no, not really. And we got to talking, and pretty soon we were spending all of our time doing random things. I've gotten back into PvP. We do arenas. We actually had a 1300 rating in 2v2 arenas. He's DK, and we do old content. We've been doing achievement runs in old content, mount stuff. We've been battlegrounds. So, and after a while, I just ended up joining them because they're definitely not as progressed. We killed our first heroic boss last night, Gruul. And they didn't kill, we haven't done the last boss in Heimel heroic. But I like them. They're a great bunch of guys, and we often, a couple of us will BG after raids, and they rip on each other constantly, which is fun. And so it's been a great time. It's been really nice, and I'm a lot happier with this group as opposed to the last one, which is really what matters. So while, you know, eventually we want to maybe do Mythic, I don't know. GM doesn't really want to, he's the guy who first talked to me. He doesn't really want to raid lead, but there's nobody else to do it right now, and I'm certainly not doing it. I'm a terrible raid leader. So, I think I'm getting a cold sore or something right here, and it's driving me crazy. I'm sorry. So, yeah, that's that. I've just been distraction, like, and unfortunately I have occasionally ignored my school because I'm too busy doing stuff. But it's been fun. And he's fun to hang out with. So, it's all good. That's really all I've been playing. I haven't touched Family Guy or Simpsons for a while. So yeah. Thank you for sticking around if you stuck around this long. I will record in about 2 weeks or so. And I will talk to you later. Okay, bye.